Susie O'Brien is back from the Herald Sun, joining us in Melbourne. Also, Christy McSweeney, Managing Director of PR Council. You're also in Melbourne. It's all happening in Melbourne this week. Grand final week. Susie, good to have you back. Amazing that the ABC finally acknowledges this scandal. They've sort of been pretending it hadn't happened for a long while.
Oh, well, they say the letter went to the legal department, but somehow for 2 years no one actually thought to tell the news department. I mean, come on. And it's interesting that this has happened before to the same journalist and the same program, so you just really do have to wonder what's going on there.
Absolutely. Now, the big news today economically is no relief for home buyers. Christy, let's first hear from the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, because she hasn't got any good news for anyone.
I'll stay out of the politics of it, John. My only comment would be that what we are doing is what we think is best to maintain this narrow path of bringing inflation back down, because it's still too high, it's still not back in the band, and according to our current forecasts, it's not really forecast to come back sustainably into the band until 2026.
2026. Now, Christy, of course, there's lots of politics around this. We don't care about that. People just care about when their rates are going down, and that's not very encouraging.
Of course they do. Rates at a 12-year high. We watched the Reserve Bank Governor, Michelle Bullock, today give that press conference peppered by media from all quarters. They were quoting back Wayne Swan, of course, the world's greatest treasurer, Chris, if you'll recall, who has been lodging grenades to the RBA. And, of course, we all saw the fate that befelled poor old Philip Lowe, the RBA governor, desperate not to get involved in politics. But of course, there's a RBA reform bill on the table that Labor wants to get done, and the Greens say they won't support it until the RBA cuts interest rates. So like it or not, the Reserve Bank is becoming even more politicised than they would like to be if they weren't already in that bucket. In any case, in this election period, it's going to be really tough for them. It's going to be really tough for the government to try and go out and campaign on cost of living when the Reserve Bank Governor is out there saying we didn't even consider cutting the rates. This meeting was about what the settings have to get to down the track leading up to 2026. It wasn't even, did we consider it?
Labor are just desperate to get one interest rate cut before they go to the polls next year. That's the big question for them. And, of course, they'll want to spend heaps in their budget too to try and buy votes. So it's going to be very bad for the economy and very fascinating politically to watch. Now, I've got to go to your column, Susie. You've outed yourself as a planet killer. You've bought a house with a gas stove and gas heating. And I've got to tell you, we put a gas fire in when we renovated 2 years ago. It's my favourite item. The favourite thing I own, I reckon, is my gas heater. So I think you've chosen well.
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely outrageous that people like me are legally buying houses with gas appliances. And in Victoria, we don't even know if we're going to be able to replace them or fix them or what we're going to be able to do. You know, 5 million householders are caught between this unholy war between the Greens, Labor, federal Labor, state Labor, the power companies, you know, and we've got the state government who was introducing a gas ban by stealth, kind of getting the legislation in place just in case they're going to need it. And, you know, and they're saying ideologically, someone like me who's just done nothing more than buy a house is a, you know, climate change catastrophic kind of person. But you know what? This ideology is not going to heat my house in winter. So I'm completely over it. I mean, I love turning on that kettle and, you know, turning on the gas, turning on the heater.
Hopefully
honestly.
Political reality and economic reality will hit them overhead at some stage. You know, we love our gas. We love our gas. And I hope people vote them out if they keep going down this path. Just quickly, Christy, I want to get you on this issue. I think it's already been an issue in Victoria, but the Labor government in New South Wales is now talking about doing this, and that is saying that if you own an investment property, you've got to have a reason to reject pets. You can't just say no pets allowed. Now, if I own the property, then it's my choice, isn't it, whether I let some filthy mutt live in the house or not?
Isn't it? Well, this all comes down to the debate. We've heard this language from Greens MPs and Labor MPs over the last little while saying housing is a fundamental human right. But of course, housing is an asset class, like any other asset class in this country. People have invested into that asset class, and it's the biggest, property is the biggest asset class pool in the country.
And if you own it, you should have the right to make those calls.
If you own it, it is yours. The government of Western Australia went one further than Chris Minns. In April, brought in reforms to say that rents can go up only once every 12 months, up from 6, and that renters can make modifications to the property.
All the regulation makes it worse.
Australia,
they need to encourage rental accommodation by getting rid of all these restrictions. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time. Susie O'Brien and Christy McSweeney.